Happy trails, Berkshire fans. It's tour time, and I'm here at the River Hill Pottery at the Eclipse Mill Loft, and Gail Sellers. Hello.
Come on in.
Thank you.
This is our gallery. So the Eclipse Mill is artists' live workspaces, and we own our space, and we get to live here, produce here, and sell what we make here. So you're going to come into a space. Part of the space is lived. This is our gallery space, and then we're going to get to see where our studio is. So this is the gallery, and we were known for our woven clay baskets. Here's an example of a large one, and here's some other baskets. One of our customers found he could bake in the basket, and what he found was that the texture would end up on the bread when he flipped it out. So that was an interesting thing. Sometimes you find out those things from your customers. And so we had and did promotions with baking in clay baskets. And of course, because they're baskets, they're used for all kinds of things, and display and storage. And we had 52 different style baskets. We had 7 glaze combinations, and we were doing pottery for over 45 years. My husband passed away in 2020, and so now it's me finding myself without a partner, and carrying some of the things we do now. But we also were very involved with community, and one of the things that we were involved in is called the Berkshire Mountain Fairy Festival. So I'm Liagana, keeper of myths and legends, and I have a story that goes with Liagana, and I have a legend as well. Then Liagana has a sidekick, which is a toad. So toads exist in every culture, and they often bring magic. And I have good luck toads. Here, so we're going to jump to like the farthest extreme you can get, I guess. These are wood-fired baskets. Most of our baskets are oxidation, and they're electric fired. These are wood-fired baskets. This is part of we have a series that we called our Woodland series. And woodland being that the rim and the handles were very tree-like, like in the woods. And these were done at Tim Scull's studio in Connecticut. So we had fun doing a number of these. It was called our signature series. So all of these baskets are signed and dated, and one of a kind. So we can come back to our studio. Come on, follow me. So our studio is the biggest studio that we ever had, and I'll tell you, the more space you get, the more stuff you have. So you're going to come in and you can see all kinds of things that we were involved in, that I still am involved in. This was a shoot that I finished not too long ago with some of our wood-fired baskets. So these are some of the signature baskets. I'm working to finalize that series, which is a challenge. But I guess it's a part of whatever potter artist goes through as they think about their life. And I am getting older, and my husband's gone. And so these are the remnants, the legacy, if you will, of what we kind of did together. Over here, you can see I worked with some Christmas Christmas trees. So those are in the process of being glazed and fired. So when we started doing our wood-fired baskets, I was hand rolling coils, and what we found we had to do is my husband said, Gail, there's this thing called an extruder. And you have to remember, we're old enough that we're talking mid-70s. And so we have a hand extruder over there, and then we have a pneumatic extruder over here, and we were able to make dies that we could use in the extruder. And our dies were custom made by us, designed, and then made by a tool and die person. The neat thing with the dies that we made is they were then metal. The first ones were wood, some metal from the companies, but clay is very abrasive, and so the clay constantly going through the wood dies would expand out the size and the shape. So that was one of the things we had to deal with. We have about 9 different dies that we use in combinations.
So the metal made it more consistent?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a slab roller, and I have a potter's wheel over here. And as I showed you here, I'm working with a photographer, and we were shooting some of the baskets, kind of legacy thinking. So one of the things that Phil and I found when we first started working with the woven clay, we were using forms like bowls, wooden bowls. And you know, because I'm from Massachusetts, we would go up to the Vermont bowl companies and find their odd shapes, seconds, and we would use the wood before they were finished, which really worked pretty good for us. But still, it's wood. We then made plaster molds. So a lot of people today probably weave on plaster. And both those things are hard, and so when you weave over them, as the clay dries, it shrinks. And as you know, with clay, it's going to get smaller, and if it's on a form that doesn't shrink, then you're going to get cracks. Nothing like doing a production day and then going, oh, let's go have dinner, and you forget about what it is that you've put on the forms. So that was an issue, and we found in Ohio, where we were, there was a foam company, and we got to talk with them and deal with them, and they were able to show us. So this is one of our, there's a number of these. We had 52 different sized baskets, and we would weave over them. Now, the nice thing is we were able to have a selection of foam. So this foam is not as dense as this one, but this and this one are dense enough that it would hold and support the clay. So as you weave with the clay, the pieces start to get heavy. And so you don't want a piece of foam that's going to kind of collapse on you. But the neat thing is after you're done making it, then you're able to take the foam pieces out of the clay form. And we learned how to glue and shape and form our pieces. So these are what our molds look like. So we might have 12 molds that look like this because we were doing production. And like I said, we had about 52 different forms that we used.
So the foam enables you to avoid the cracks.
Right, to take it off. So for example, this would have gotten made over this form. So matter of fact, you can see how I can push this form right back into here, and that's how when it was drying. Now this has been made, dried, bisked, and fired, and so each stage there's some shrinkage involved. So, but you can see then, if it was sitting here, we would be able to then gently take out the form out of the basket without it cracking. So that was huge for us to be able to do that. I don't know what potters are doing today. There's a lot more people extruding and making baskets than ever before, which is kind of exciting to see as well. So if we come this way, we have some more pieces here. And I also have, this is our kiln room. And we have 3 kilns back here. These are electric kilns. So our primary way to work was electric, because much more control, and we didn't have to spend 3 months filling a kiln waiting for it to fire and come down. So we had the electric kiln. Then we also had what's called a packing machine. Now the packing machine, this was kind of interesting. It really enabled us. I'll show you a piece. So when we shipped, we were able to shrink wrap one of our baskets onto a board. So then all of our pieces got shipped in a box, a 20 by 20 box, and they were shrink wrapped right onto a board.
That's amazing.
So this was another Bill Campbell in Pennsylvania, another potter that we know, was using this. So we got a packing machine. We learned how to do that. We also have a pug machine, a pug mill back here. So when you work with clay, one of the big things is reprocessing the clay. So you're either wedging the clay and putting a lot of energy into it. A machine like that mixes the clay, de-airs the clay, and we were actually able to pug it out so it would be the right size to put into our extruder.
Nice.
So that was a boon for us in terms of making
And
things.
it's a form of recycling, right?
Oh yeah, because when you're hand building, you have a lot more scraps. That's my philosophy. When you're wheel throwing, you got some slurry, maybe you have some that you have to throw off the wheel and rework or process. But we're running extrusions and then we're cutting them, and so we have slurry buckets that we have labeled. So we have our scrap pieces would go into our buckets.
So, Gail, what is this up here that I see that says Vessels of Change?
So one of the projects that Phil and I worked on, we were very community minded and like to raise money. I'm sure many of you have been involved with empty bowls and brought money in for donations. So our Vessels for Change, we had 100 mugs made by 5 artists, and then people, those were all the artists that we had, and they drew on or carved into the mugs that were then fired and glazed. So that's like, and the fun part was, these were jewelers, graphic artists, fabric people, jewelry people, just a whole big gamut of artists. And so then we sold the mugs for $100 a piece. We ended up making, we raised about $25,000, and that was in Ceramics Monthly. I forget what year that was, but being involved with community is really important to us.
So what are you working on now? What's a passionate project you're working on now?
Well, one of the things, after Phil passed away, we were working with thinking about what does River Hill Pottery look at and like as we get older. And we had this big studio, nobody working with us anymore. We were reducing our wholesale clients, and so Phil was a painter and printmaker by education, and that was one of his passions. So he was doing a lot of drawing, and I was doing more hand building. And it was kind of interesting because it just kind of flowed together. And Phil and I always collaborated. So he would say, how do you do this? What if we do that? And I would say, well, what if we do this? And he was the glaze master and the firing guy, and I worked more with the design concept and keeping track of how we were going to have all those different baskets and continue to make more of the same kind. But one of the things for me is I have some pieces here that I'm working on, and so these are textural, and I am using lace. Lace is one of my things, so I collect lace. And so these are like butter dishes, and these are my prototypes, and then I have some dishes that I've designed. I'm working on taking dishes that I design, and I've taken my husband's paintings where I am over here, and he has this is kind of what he left me. He left me 7 notebooks of paintings. Let me show you. He was very much into color, form, brushwork, and he was just having fun. And after he passed, he left me with, I'd say 7 notebooks, almost 200 and something paintings. And then I worked with a company in California, and what they did is they made decals out of his paintings, which I was then able to make larger or smaller. And so what I did was I created a series called The Spirit of Love. And so this is an example of the plates that I'm designing. I'm using texture, and I'm still in the process of designing how big the foot is going to be, how big I want them to make, how big I want them to be. And then I have, these are Phil's decals. So this is Phil's work on my plates that
What a beautiful way to commemorate your
yeah,
work together.
It keeps me, you know, I can kind of feel him saying, well, what if we did this? So what if we did that? And so these are just some of the ones that I've made that I'm continuing to work on.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that is kind of our story. And as you go through your art career, I think things change. We have new ideas. And of course, there's new materials and equipment that people are using. There's a lot more texture being done, and other potters are making tools and texture as well. So that's kind of interesting to see. So right now for me, I'm taking what I know and hope, for me, I want to do what I want to do. I've done production and done the repetition thing, and now I think the spirit of love for me is bringing Phil's work and my work together, and I'm going to just do kind of what I want to do. So thank you very much, and you're welcome to come to River Hill Pottery anytime we're open, and give me a call or go online and check out some of the things that you may see from River Hill.
And how many people are in the Eclipse Mill?
We have about 40 units,
Mm-hmm.
and many of the people in the mill are partners. So we probably have about 60 people, and we have writers and dancers and musicians and potters and weavers and painters and printmakers. So there's just a whole gambit of crafts and artists here.
So this is a good place to definitely stop and make a tour.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what I'm doing when you come again.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gail, for your time.
You're welcome.